What is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we're going to cover a lot of crazy stuff that has happened in the last 48 hours. Of course, we are going to cover China. We're going to cover, of course, Russia, what is going on with Poland and Belarus. There is a ton here. In fact, we just released a video on Marfoogle News, our sister channel, and that is one of the most important videos we've ever released, so make sure to go check that out as well. We'll be right back right after this, and stick around. This is a call-in show tonight, so anything can happen. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Is going on? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Tonight is a call-in show, so remember you can call in at 2244-00-MARF. Again, that is 2244-00-MARF. We just released one of the most important videos ever because I really truly believe that it is, it is too right there in our faces to miss, and incredibly so, the last 2 years of what has been going on, that was also given to us on a silver platter, and really a lot of people missed it. We told you that something was up and that something was going to happen, and it was very specific. Something was going to happen, and it happened. And now they are giving us it was like a repeat of the same exact stuff. Tonight we're going to talk about, of course, a ton of different stories. So remember that every single story that we're going to talk about here today is based on a source, and all of the sources, whether it be an article, tweet, video, picture, or archived document, it's going to be on our website. Now, when you go to marfooglenews.com, it's very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. So you'll look for this thumbnail over our horizon. And again, if it does change, or the title may change, again, it will be this last show in the upper left-hand corner. Now, when you actually click on it, it will bring you to every single article, tweet, video that we have here today. And it will also have all of the information. So that way you know exactly where we sourced all of our information from. That way you also know that you can go back to this. In the search bar in the upper right-hand corner, you can also search almost everything or anything. If I say something specific on the show that you do remember from a show, you're like, that show that he talked about, Optimus Prime, you can search that in the box and it will bring you to the show where I said that. All of the actual transcripts from the show are saved because of the closed captioning. So we actually take those and put them on our website. So if you remember a news story or a headline, you can type that in there and find the show. Now, all of the stories are here, and then down at the bottom is web-only content. That is basically stuff that is too hot for TV. A lot of people, of course, have been watching the court trial and everything else, very politicized. If it's too far to one direction, or it's something that they just completely have people split on, we leave that for our website. Again, we don't want just people sitting here arguing the entire show. On the other hand, as well, there is an entire other show down there. Make sure to go check it out. And then on the right side, you will see that we have all of our affiliates. If you do want to support us in any way, EMP Shield, highly recommended. It is exactly what they are doing to prepare for themselves. And by they, I mean the U.S. government for an EMP or a CME. And then we have My Patriot Supply, and we have, of course, NordVPN. And if you do want to do a PayPal during the show to support us, we are independent. We don't have a multi-channel network, and we do not have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. Let's bring in Dex, my co-host. We're going to, of course, he'll be on the phones at 2244-00-MARF. And then, of course, we will hit straight into the news after. What's going on, Dex, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So a ton to go over. We'll get right into it, and we're gonna fly through a little bit of this. It says that a major storm could throw a wrench into early Thanksgiving travel. A disruptive storm could bring snow, soaking rain, and gusty winds to parts of the Northwest and Northeast ahead of Thanksgiving. AccuWeather meteorologists are cautioning that a major stormy pattern could prove disruptive for millions of Americans who are planning to get a head start on Thanksgiving travel. The concern forecasters have is that a significant storm could rapidly strengthen and cause a host of disruptions from the Midwest to the portions of the Great Lakes, interior Northeast, and Mid-Atlantic over the weekend and the days before Thanksgiving. Travel for Thanksgiving is expected to reach nearly pre-pandemic levels this year, according to the AAA, and of course, the repercussions of any storm that may develop in the days ahead of the holiday. It says AccuWeather, of course, forecasters warn, could be far-reaching and have lingering effects on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which is considered one of the nation's busiest travel days of the years. So there's going to be a possible huge storms. That's what they say. Of course, the mainstream meteorologists and the, they're always wrong. It's always a hit or miss. Sometimes they, completely do not talk about a storm that ends up being absolutely insane. And then sometimes they hype something up that ends up being absolutely nothing. Like Stormageddon here in Washington. They had memes, of course, with knocked down plastic chairs. It was like that was the extent of it. As far as what is happening with the weather, a lot of people are noticing that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, things are changing. And people have a big debate going on, of course, on why that is happening. But I definitely think that we are all in agreement that something is changing, and it's most definitely affecting all of us. Here in the Northwest, I just found out that apparently we're on like a double La Nina, so that may explain some of it. Here it is absolutely freezing. It went from 60 degree weather, 65, 70 to just instantly freezing in one day. Pretty nuts. In fact, all of my little yard lights filled with water and filled with ice, and they were like ice cream cones last night. So pretty crazy. If that storm, if you are planning on travel, be careful. Of course, to compound that, there will be no staff. There will be no planes. If you are traveling, it is not going to be a fun holiday, I promise you, because if you are going through the airplanes or airports, you are going to have just a mess. My aunt 2 weeks ago, when it wasn't in all the heat of the travel time, she and my uncle were put onto 4 different planes, and they sat for hours and hours. I believe she updated me. It was about 12 hours, 8 hours on one single plane before they moved them to another plane, then moved them to another plane. And they said that it was because of maintenance issues. And I'm sorry, but Southwest, if you have a whole plane full of people get on 4 different planes and then tell them that you can't lift off because of maintenance, instead of telling them that, hey, people aren't following the rules, so we don't, people left our company because we have this rule in place, you are probably going to lose that whole plane of customers. Because I'm sorry, if I got on 4 different planes and they said that their maintenance was shoddy, or that, we can't take off with this one, we're not, too sure we have the maintenance done, that's freaking scary. Pretty dumb. But again, that's what they've been saying. They've been saying it's extreme weather, this and that. Some of it is, of course, due to people leaving. And then it says everything is skyrocketing. Record high California gas prices add to the holiday sticker shock. Speaking of stickers, there is a pretty funny sticker, of course. Everybody has been putting on these, and it is a picture of our president saying, "I did that," right next to the price that's right above the pump. That is basically viral all over the internet, and apparently, I don't know who's printing these, but a lot of people were getting them for free. Like, somebody is paying a whole lot of money all across the country to give these things out for free, so people will put them on pumps. Not saying I haven't seen one yet, but I thought that was pretty funny. Somebody's actually spending their own money to like mass produce these stickers. I have seen just one here in Washington, but again, if you've seen it, it's pretty funny. And then, of course, it says that Brian Spool squinted against his son on Monday as he examined the price board at a Chevron station in downtown Los Angeles, where a regular gallon of gas, that's regular, not premium, was $6.05. Sproul, 37 years old, is a mobile notary who spends much of his time in his car. He said he's used to spending about $40 to fill his tank, but by the time he capped off his Hyundai Elantra, which are very good on gas, the meter displayed a whopping $71. Now, I can't imagine that's probably a 12-gallon tank or something like that. As far as $40 at a $4, 10-gallon tank or something around there, if it's $3.50. So I'm guessing it's about a 12, 13-gallon tank. I can't imagine either one of our V8, my old 98 V8 truck, it's old in general. It's bad with gas. It's get like 6 miles per gallon. I can't imagine filling that thing up at $6 a gallon. Neither could I with our SUV, which is a V8 as well. It's like, that is absolutely insane. I think, both of our cars, because we have so many kids, we have to have a third row. Both of our cars, it would be like over $125 or $130 or $140 to fill our tank at $6. This is absurd. Nobody can actually afford this. I don't understand this. Like, they need to do something immediately if they expect people to make it. I mean, how are you even supposed to, at $6 a gallon, how are you supposed to go to a job, especially if you are at $15 an hour, working 40 hours a week, and maybe they won't even let you get overtime because they are also struggling, the company you're working for? How are you even supposed to survive, especially in a place like Los Angeles where the rents are incredible and people are already sharing? I mean, like, you're practically renting tents. Pretty horrible. $6. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. Have you? Put it in the comments down below. Pretty nuts here. So, by the way, I do want to say thank you to Mark Sutton, Sage News Network, Chessie, and Wages World. Thank you for popping in last show and supporting Candy Curtis. 4.0 simultaneous earthquakes in West Tennessee, Missouri, and Oklahoma. So I did see that. Dutch Sense post something about that. That is really strange. The same magnitude in 3 different places simultaneously. That should say something. And then it says, Brett Butler says, "What's crazy is that video from 2019 made me look crazy towards my fam. I stocked up and I prepped, warned them, and we're all healthy and ready. Thanks, fam." So Brett Butler is actually referencing the 2019 video that I did. And of course, we ended up putting out everything about, what Gilly Bates was saying. We put out everything about the smallpox and monkeypox, the Russian lab explosion, how HHS ended up putting $2.8 billion into, different things that you stick into people for smallpox of all things. And all through the last 2 years, I thought maybe those were actually pre-stocked up and they were labeled that, but maybe they weren't. Again, there was some brand new news today that I talked about on that show. It is history repeating itself, only this time it is moving forward. That's why I say, what the present may hold. This is stuff that's not in the future. This is happening right now. But thank you again. I appreciate everybody that has ended up popping in. And then over on D-Live, thank you, and thank you, El Luna, for popping in and showing love with the Ninja Genie. Can't say enough about the D-Love crew. And then Meat Papa 007 says, California Port Law, 0 emission trucks by 2035. I'm actually surprised that they didn't set it for something crazy like 2022 or something. They're just nuts over there. And then Zippy Moons says, love my fam. I am guilty. I bought 100 for $6.99. 100 for $6.99. Oh, you bought the stickers. That is hilarious. That's actually not that bad for $7. Bear Lover, Venus L, Chewbacca, thank you so much. Deep State of Mind, Jump Master, Scooby Doo Do Right, O Firefighter, Cognitable, and of course Jake 7070s, Miss Me V2, and What's Your Name 45. Thank you everybody for popping in, and Karen C and all the new followers today. I appreciate you and welcome to the Marfia. So definitely a lot ahead. TerraPower will build its first advanced nuclear reactor in a coal town in Wyoming. So someone made a comment today that, of course, somebody said, well, why is Gilly over here, Microsoft man, why is he getting involved in all of this medical stuff if he's not a doctor? And then someone else commented underneath that, and I thank you to both of you. That was one of the few comments that I actually read and hearted there. Said he's also getting involved in nuclear power plants, and he's not an engineer. He's not a nuclear scientist, that's for damn sure. But yet he is, of course, qualified for this because of the amount of money in his bank account. I don't understand where the richest people in the world are all of a sudden experts on everything and can go on TV shows and say their opinion, because people look at them like they are somehow better than all of us, smarter than all of us, and like they are somehow should be in charge because they've made more money than us. I personally, I don't know him personally. I bet he's a pretty smart guy, but I bet you if you actually hung out for a few hours with Gilly, I bet he was probably a creep. Just, I get that vibe of a creep, especially after that interview where he talks about EpiPen and how he goes, well, he's dead, so, and everybody's sitting there like, what did you just say? I just get that creep vibe. Like, I would, it's one of those things where I would, if my 15-year-old around, I would go like this and go, just come over here, step behind me. In fact, wait over there while I talk to this creepy gentleman. It says Gilly TerraPower will build its first advanced nuclear, of course, reactor in a coal town in Wyoming, which it's kind of screwed up in the first place. It's a coal town. TerraPower, a startup co-founded by to revolutionize designs for nuclear reactors, has picked Kennemer, Wyoming as a preferred location for its first demonstration reactor. It aims to build the plant in the frontier-era coal town by 2028. Constructing the plant will be a job bonanza for Kenmare, with 2,000 workers at its peak, said TerraPower CEO Chris Levesque in a video call with reporters on Tuesday. We'll also provide new clean energy jobs to a region dominated today by the coal and gas industry. Today, a local power plant, coal mine, and natural gas processing plant combined provide more than 400 jobs, a sizable number for a region that only has around 3,000 people. So this is a pretty small town. Of course, I think that's even smaller population than, say, something like Orcas Island here, which, for that kind of population, they have 5,000 or 8,000, and they had 5 cops. So I can only imagine, like, this might have a sheriff, and that's it. Like, this is small town something, and this thing is, they're coming in with this. It said, new industry coming to any community is generally good news. Kennemer Mayor William Theck told CNBC, you have to understand most of our nearby towns are 50 miles or more from Kenmare. And of course, despite that, workers travel those distances every day to work in our area. For TerraPower, picking a location was a matter of geological and technical factors like seismic and soil conditions and community support, said Levesque. So they're trying to avoid some seismically active area. They don't want to put a nuclear plant, which is kind of funny because we have all sorts of nuclear plants in seismically active areas. So kind of weird if you ask. Weird that they, I guess it's not weird that they picked this little town. What do you think about this? Do you think that Mr. Gilly should be involved in all of this, or do you think he should stick to Windows 11? Winton Dupree says Art Bell called it the quickening 30 years ago. the quickening. It says we feel that more today. Yeah, Art Bella was on top of it. And then military is having to increase housing allowances for service members. That's how crazy it's getting. So Delaware Sasquatch is saying that military is essentially increasing that housing allowance that they get for their members because all of the prices are going so nuts. And of course, Ilea says, Adam, if you're down, I'd love to collaborate on a Let's Go Brandon Christmas song. Let's give Americans a good laugh for Christmas. By the way, Ilea is, most people know, like you've been on the other, you're not right leaning, you're not exactly super left or anything, but it's just funny that I know you have common sense, because I don't think you would be on either side to see that our president, frankly, can't remember what he's saying. I mean, there's been so many different clips. It's like any other person did that, people would be wondering, like, this is the gentleman who's in charge of the free world. He is literally having problems remembering what he's doing up on stage. That's like really scary to me. And then Candy, again, thank you. Ilea, I would love to. It would be really cool to do some sort of song. And by the way, Ilea, one of our mods, amazing woman. She is now into voiceover work because of Radio Face. Radio Face is an awesome, actual professional voiceover artist. Inspired her, and now she's started off on her own journey. Again, I think that it's awesome that all of you end up, starting your own channels. I encourage each and every one of you to do the same thing we've done. And then if you do want to call, remember, the number is 224-400-MARF. You have to get in early, so please give us a call right now. If you're a first-time caller, do it anyways. Don't worry about it. It's just calling in to your buddies. Okay, and then we have Kevin on the phone. Before we talk to Kevin, I do want to remind you that, of course, EMP Shield is now $50 off, of course, if you use our code, and that ends up stacking. They have all sorts of deals that are probably coming for the holidays, so I would definitely keep track of the website, marfooglenews.com/EMP. Here's the thing. We've shown you the data. We've shown you the information of what's going on. I think that we're probably going to have everything stack on top of each other all at the same time and drop on us. I think that if something does hit the fan, it's going to all hit the fan in a split second, and you're not even going to realize what happened. Especially after this last one, we are now getting a different generator, because the last one we ended up giving it to somebody because it was broken and we were going to fix it, and then we ended up giving it to somebody. I would say that if we get a new one, we're going to get a dual fuel, and we're going to end up putting an EMP shield on it. Here's the thing. We actually had gaps in our setup, and we realized that just with this last storm. Normally our power comes back in 1 to 2 hours, but it didn't. It came back in almost 2 days. And the reason why is because all of the skilled and trained people are somewhere else. In fact, they've put their boots up, they've put all of their stuff up, and they've given up. I cannot imagine, and I said that in the video yesterday or the day before, I cannot imagine what will happen if all of our grid goes down, because it's going to be a complete cluster, and there's no one there. There are no teams. This was just in Washington, and we have a lot of storms. We have a lot of teams. There's nobody there. There's no teams. My neighbor, and again, we actually directly talked to someone right with the PSE dispatcher, and of course, they actually said that they had no teams. All of Puget Sound was out, and they had nobody to fix all of it. King County, Pierce County, Whatcom County, all of them had huge outages, and again, this wasn't even a bad storm. So I guess my thought is on this, you have to have a real setup. And these are not cheap, but they're professional. This is how the government is preparing. So if you have not already, go over and check out EMP Shield. Go and protect yourself against all 3 phases of an EMP and the natural kind. When we do have, because it is a guaranteed, we will have a Carrington level event hit the earth, you want to be protected. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. They make different devices for different things. You can have one wired into your car that will ground the signal in a picosecond before it can fry your car, so you won't be stuck out in the middle of nowhere. They have a house version, a car version, an RV version, a ham radio version even. They have a generator version. Make sure to go check them out. That's marfooglenews.com.
My name is Tom Homan. I'm the former ICE director under President Donald Trump, and I'm here to ask America to wake up. You can protect yourself and at the same time protect this great nation. The threat of electromagnetic pulse is real, EMP. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's a matter of life and death. I recently partnered with a Midwest company, veteran-owned, that has developed a device you can hook up to your home or your vehicle to protect you against the EMP. I highly encourage you to go to EMPshield.com and research this device. Again, it will protect you, in the long term, protect this great nation. Thank you.
Now, it's Tom Homan, ICE Director. All right, let's get Kevin on. Kevin is our first caller. We're going to fly through this. Again, thank you, and thank you, Sammy Lee. Sammy Lee for dropping in multiple diamonds over on DLive. Thank you for supporting Independent. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. Mike Morales, please pray for Mike Morales. Pearl says, all who pray says, pray for Mike Morales. I don't know what happened. Please, if you can, fill in the rest of that message. It says did he get into trouble? Did he get hurt? I know that a lot of our people here watch Mike Morales. I believe he is the World Underground News or not. What is it called? Mike Around the World, I think. No, Mike Morales. That is. We've had him on the show, I believe. Yeah. So make sure to go over and check that out. I'm trying to look at it and see what's going on at the same time. All right, Dex, let's, do we have Kevin?
Hey, Adam, I'm having trouble getting Kevin, so let's go to that Gen X dude, and we'll get Kevin back on.
All right, that Gen X dude is going to be popping in right now. By the way, another person too, Gone Girl 777. I hope she's okay. I know that she was out and about. I hope she is okay. I hope there's been a few people that I've noticed that have not been around. That Simply Pony, is Simply Pony still around? You know, there's a couple people that I kind of worry about. And then Memory Trigger, Miss Me V2, End Times. What is going on, man? It's nice to see it. I get to know you guys through the screen names and through your comments, and it's weird because I feel like I know, you know, some of you better than others, and I've never met you in person, but I know people. It's just really crazy. Is Stormy here too? Stormy7572. There's a whole crew of awesome people here.
And hey, Adam, we're having trouble with both. So let me get them back on the lines and see what I can do.
Okay. Well, I'll continue the news, and then maybe we'll just do them back-to-back when we do. Outcry grows over Russian missile test that hit satellite. Now, it says that this was a missile kind of blast. This was a missile. That's what they called this. They called it at first. They made it sound like it was nothing. It was an anti-satellite weapon, and they were testing this. Now, why is Russia testing an anti-satellite weapon at the same time that China is testing all of these anti-satellite, oh, that's right. Remember, China was testing this thing that grabs. It was like a mechanical arm that could crush satellites. So both of them are testing these devices and missiles to actually take out our satellites. And it's us. I mean, it's not like, who are they going after, right? Who is the main big bad guy? It would be us. It wouldn't. I don't know how many other countries or adversaries that they have that have whole satellite systems. I know that most of them have like a simple setup, and yeah, you could easily knock down some of the smaller countries if they only have a few satellites, but I think that it's not for that. The Russian, my opinion is that these Russian tests and these Chinese devices and Chinese tests, this is because they are preparing to knock us out. That is my opinion. I'm not going to, I don't care that people, some people said to my last video, the words fear-mongering bother me because I'm not afraid. I'm getting ready. Like, I think that if anybody knows what is happening, you're better off knowing than not knowing. Anybody that when the shelves were completely bare, and anyone that watched that video that we put out in September of 2019, They were prepared because we let you know. We looked at the obvious. I mean, this is really obvious stuff. They're telling us, they're straight up handing it to us on a silver platter, letting us know that 1, there's going to be conflict. 2, there's going to be bio events. And again, this is my opinion based on facts, based on solid sources, and a huge wide range of tests, drills, exercises, how they're preparing. See, sometimes it's kind of like that thing we were seeing in the space where it was pulling in objects, but we couldn't actually see the object. If you didn't know this, they're watching and they're seeing these stars and different things getting pulled in. And they're like, well, we can't see what is actually pulling them in. There's a gravitational pull that's pulling these things in, but they couldn't see the actual object that was making them move, right? It's kind of like that. I think that you can't see the actual reason for this, but you can see the results all around you. You can see the U.S. government, the UK government, the Australia government. They're all preparing for conflict. And on top of that, of course, China, Russia, and all of our adversaries are preparing. And now Afghanistan and everything else, they've got millions and millions of dollars in U.S. technologies, including all of our drones. It was like we gave them to them so they could then use it against us. Now, they, by themselves, probably couldn't get it over here. They probably didn't have the Navy to do that. But guess who does? Their buddies, their best buddies, Russia and China. So they could actually bring those here, bring them right out to our coastline, surround our country, and launch tons and tons of drones. On top of that, China with their of course, they've turned old Russian jets into actual drones, unmanned drones. So there's a ton here. It says Russia's missile test that struck a defunct space satellite has U.S. officials and lawmakers rattled over fears Moscow seeks to further militarize space, with calls to hold the Kremlin accountable. Now, if you remember, we covered when the DoD, Department of Defense, and this is archived on our website, came out and did a press conference and said that space was weaponized. Not only that, they talked about, of course, the technology that was considered a theory. I'm just blanking on this. Dex, do you know what technology I'm talking about? It's not laser, directed energy. So directed energy weapons were a thing of like science fiction, and they were also a thing of internet rumors. And they've been an internet rumor for 10, 15 years as far as the rods of God and things like this. And then all of a sudden, a press conference from the DoD, Department of Defense, came out and said not only is it real, but Russia and China have both weaponized space with it. And this was surrounding within a few days of the Beirut incident, if you know what that is. So I just thought it was very, very interesting that happened at that same time. It happened to be a factory that if you introduced high heat and high intensity, of course, basically something that's like a laser or like a magnifying glass onto an anthill, that it goes boom, boom. And that possibly could be what happened, or a submarine, or it was on the waterfront, so it could have been some sort of torpedo. I don't know what happened there. They say that all of these fireworks were stored bad, and it went boom, boom. Dex, it looks like, so I don't know what's been happening with all of the systems going here, but we've been having issues with all of the different companies and the phone services and everything lately.
Yeah, I tested everything. We're back and running. I got Kevin and that Gen X dude lined up, so we can go to him whenever you're ready. Okay, let me just talk about this for 2 seconds, and then Dex, do you have anything to add about the satellite explosion? As far as this is a bigger deal. Russia admits to it now, so that's a new step from yesterday. It was just alleged, and now they're admitting to it. So, obviously, yeah, it's a big deal. It's exactly what we said before, and I think we're going to hear a lot more of this in the coming months and year.
Well, I think that it's pretty clear that something greater is happening right now. Thanks again, Delaware Sasquatch, Ilea, Candy Curtis, and then Justin Sol Rosenberg says, all I want for Christmas is a country that understands who it's talking about in Revelation 2:9-3:9 and what star in Amos 5:2-6 and Acts 7:4-3. Saul Rosenberg, thank you so much for your support. Great comment. East Tennessee Preparedness says, thanks to you and Preppreneurs One, I started my own channel. I'm usually lurking in the background, but appreciate all you do. East Tennessee Preparedness. Good job, and I'm proud of you. Winton Dupree, again, thank you, and thank you. Okay, so let's get Kevin on before we talk about Russia deploys commandos to Belarus as crisis Ukraine tensions spark Western fears. And remember, Poland and this same area is where WW2 started.
And Adam, Kevin is live.
All right, Kevin, how are you doing today? And you were live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, Adam, great to be back. It's Kevin from New York City.
Hey, so what's happening here? It says that you wanted to talk about the changes in the weather patterns.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm sure you heard where I am here in New York, just east of where I am, Long Island, where I actually grew up. They got hit with 4 tornadoes this weekend. Okay.
Now, is that normal?
Never happened.
That's not normal.
It's never happened. There is absolutely no record ever, especially this late. There's been a few tornadoes on occasion, very small, minor, but this late in the season, and for 4, there was a total, I believe, on the whole eastern seaboard, 12 tornadoes. And what's happening with the weather patterns, and you were talking about it before, and I'll give you another example. It was 40 yesterday, it was 50-something today, and tomorrow is going to be 70 here in New York. So what's going on is due to the energy, or the lack thereof, of the energy output from the sun because of the situation we find ourselves in with the grand solar minimum. What happens with the planet is the magnetic field gets greatly reduced as far as its strength, and this has an effect on the way the patterns of our normal flow normally is across the entire planet. And so basically it's throwing it way out of whack. So we're going to be seeing these extremes in weather. You're seeing all across the planet. I know a lot of the mainstream media doesn't show this, but there's a couple channels out there, 2 preachers, they have a great channel. They show a lot of the stuff that's going on, just all these, in biblical sense, disasters, and especially these flooding events. And that's the most dangerous, obviously, because with the jet stream used to be, more evenly flowing. And unfortunately now, due to what's happening, the jet stream is going just more up and down, up and down, up and down. So it's having these radical shifts of temperature and weather systems that either get stalled, and then you get all this massive flooding, or there's just this, warm system, cold system that are just clashing. And that's obviously part of what creates tornadoes. And it was pretty devastating what hit out on the island. I mean, there was unbelievable. It was some of the trees that I saw. I was down in DC myself doing something over the weekend, so I wasn't even around for it. But when I got back, I was like, I heard something about it, and then I was amazed because I have some friends that still live out there. And now people are like all panicking that don't have basements. They want to build bunkers, and I said, well, you definitely need to be. God,
I don't blame them.
No, not at all. Because let's face it, a tornado is basically like a train coming at you. So if there's nothing you could do about it. If you get lucky, it just misses you. If it hits you pretty close or dead on, you're just gone. Everything's gone. You can barely, definitely. Most things can't withstand the force of tornadoes. So with that, obviously, just people need to just be really super aware of this weather pattern condition that we're going to be experiencing over the next couple of years, at least until we start coming up the curve of the grand solar minimum 11-year period, which we're only in year 2 right now. So, usually between 2 and 3 years of any beginning cycle of the grand solar minimum, there's incredible fluctuations in the weather patterns, and this one being very low as far as energy. So the sun, people don't realize the sun controls everything. I know there's people out there in the government and in these groups that, think by protesting, it's going to make a difference whether it rains, snows, sleets, hails, or burns. And that's just a delusional fantasy, because at the end of the day, the sun controls the weather, controls everything on this planet. And we just have been in a sweet spot over the past 150 years as far as these changes in the weather and how our planet is affected by it. So I would highly recommend, as I, of course, have stated before, please be prepared in at least a minimalistic way. As far as generators go, the technology now, I really recommend solar generators, because let's face it, a gas generator, where are you going to get gas from? And even if you have gas, people are going to hear that gas generator, and, they might not be so nice about wanting to share your stuff.
So hey, can I make a point? So we normally had a generator. We've had several, and we used to have Honda. We had different brands, including the kind of Chinese knockoff brands. A lot of the cheaper ones are super loud. When the power went out, I almost did a video, kind of just driving down the street. There was no lights, but you could hear all of the houses that had generators. And I was actually surprised by how many people still had a couple lights on, and you could tell. And then, of course, you drive by, you can hear, in their backyard. And it's very obvious who has power generators. So when SHTF happens, if there's any information going out that it's a serious thing, like say if the whole grid goes down across the country, the second people get that word, people are going to panic. In fact, it's almost be good if people don't know that the rest of the country's down, that they think it's a local thing at first, because people are going to freak. The second that they know that the entire country's down, people will know that it's an attack. People will know, when this happens, like it's going to be like all of a sudden, if this happens, it's going to be like, it's going to be like immediately they'll go for those houses with those generators and they'll steal them. I mean, that just straight up. So I agree with you on that. I think people should build housing for it, like we have done. At our cabin, we have a shed, and when you close that shed, you can still hear it, but if you were 20, 30, 40 feet away, you can't really, it's much harder to hear.
Right. Well, and here's a real good piece of advice I would give to anybody in any situation that becomes abnormal or just, unmanageable and irrational. You have to understand that the first week, just to give you an example, if, say, the power goes out, okay? So it's a natural inclination for people to immediately start their generators, immediately, go into that mode. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is go into a stealth mode, because you need to keep a very low profile. You don't want people to know you have a generator. You don't want people to know you have rations, you have these things. So what you're going to want to do, and this comes from military training, you want to go into a stealth mode. So you want to hunker down, keep as quiet as possible, keep to yourselves, because literally, if there is a situation of, unbelievable nature where the grid goes down and it's not coming back for a foreseeable amount of time, I know it sounds horrible, but most people will pretty much either lose their mind or perish within a month. They'll probably lose their mind within a week. So the reality is you need to really hunker down and keep a low profile in order to survive long-term in a situation, because it's like the riots. Like the riots are a perfect example of what can happen. So you have this action and then there's a reaction. And, with the rioting, people were going crazy. They were burning stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then it subsided, of course. It blows up. And it's the same kind of thing. So if we're in a situation where there's no electricity, obviously there's no communication. So nobody's going to know anything other than, okay, this is what we're experiencing right now. And we need to be smart, and we need to ration, and we need to be quiet and stealth, and you need to keep really low key, no lights. Like, don't put yourself in a situation that you could become a victim, because if that person has guns and you don't, because not everybody has guns, not a lot of people are, and not everyone is a gun person. Now, and you could have all the rations in the world, and you could have the best technology and all that. But if some guy comes with a 12-gauge shotgun, that's it. It's over. You don't have anything. You may get killed as well. So my point is, the key is really when something bad happens of this type of nature, you need to hunker down, keep quiet, and try to survive as long as you can without calling attention to yourself and your family. Just a piece of advice, that, I know there's just a lot of things that people don't think about because they've never experienced being in a situation like that. But it is important to think about how you would react and how you would carry on in the case of a situation that is beyond your control. But just wanted to, give a call. I appreciate you taking my calls, and I'll let you get on to the next caller and have a great night.
Well, thank you again, Kevin. It's always nice to hear from you. I always appreciate your calls. Thank you so much, and you have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. So that was Kevin from New York. He's actually a Foogle fan favorite when he calls. I always read the comments, and he's called a couple times now, and both, or at least twice. His calls are always fam favorite, I guess. Something froze here, so just give me a second. If you can, tell me in chat if everything is going okay. Hold on, let me close a couple things here. Definitely had something happen here. Yeah, something's going on here. Okay, so let's see. I think, we're going to have to close that for a second. Just give me a second, guys, and I'll load this back up. Looks like that might have handled it. I hope that is not... I don't know if this should be on there or not. Give me a second here. All right, let's see. I'm going to load the news up. Dex, if you want to get the next caller, let's get the next caller on. I'm going to have to reload the news. Something happened there with that call. Something. Oh no! I could have restored it. Dang it. Okay.
And Adam, we have that Gen X dude online now.
Okay, thank you. That Gen X dude, you are live on Marfoogle News.
Wow, how do I follow that phone call
up? Well, no worry. How are you doing, man? It's nice to talk to you.
I'm doing good. Doing good. I watched your little 15-minute short today and kind of got chills running down my arms.
Well, are you putting it together? Do you see what because I can't really just out and say everything that I want to say, but it's pretty like right in your face.
Let me put this to you from a southern perspective. I was born and raised in Southern Virginia. So when you see a cow running with its tail up and you see the clouds, guess what's coming? There's a storm coming. So you best get your ass inside before anything happens. But anyway, didn't mean to use that language. Sorry about that. But
you're all right.
Yeah, the small thing, disease that you were talking about on your little short there.
We'll just call it the pox. I think pox is okay. Just the
yeah,
in general,
pox,
the bad pox,
that'll work.
Not chicken pox. We'll call it not chicken pox. The other one.
Yeah.
My name is Tom Holman. I'm the former ICE director and President Donald Trump. I'm here to
that.
Sorry about that. But yeah, so I apologize. I just had to reload all the news, and Tom Holman there just went on
that's fine.
Automatic. So specifically, you were going to talk about your thoughts on the pox and Fort Detrick and the strange aircraft. Something about that.
Okay. Well, I live in the Panhandle of West Virginia. I grew up in Southern Virginia, moved up here about 22 years ago. So really, I've seen this place grow, and it's kind of like I feel like I'm in the crosshairs right now, because the stores around here aren't that bad, except for the big blue box store that we all know and love to hate. But anyway, the region I live in, the housing market is through the roof. There's numerous out-of-state tags that I can count, including your home state, Oregon, California, and from everywhere else. But the main thing is, when you talked about the pox, which I watched faithfully, that's been watching you for a while now, I live 40 from that fort, per se. And it scares the living death out of me, because that is where those things are done and conducted. And if you look at that town, you would never know it's there. That is scary. And another thing, I am 45 minutes from the I-95 corridor. We have people live here in Charlestown, West Virginia, because it's cheaper than living in Virginia and paying the taxes. So not only do I see Virginia State Troopers, not only do I see Loudoun County, Virginia, Fairfax County, Virginia, Homeland Security. There's a lot here in my town. And my wife happens to work at a bar, so you kind of know what happens when people start to drink a little. You know, they'll start spitting things out. So not only do I have that here, but we have the Homeland Security training facility here. And we also have the USCG in Martinsburg. We have a plethora of things around me. And that's a lot going on. But now that since I've watched you and talked to the people, look at the chat, listen to what you've got to say, it's scary, because I feel like where we're at, we're in the crosshairs.
Now, can I ask, before you
I'm between two states.
Before you move on, has your wife heard anything specific at her bar?
Well, the short story, I don't have much logistics on it, but she has two guys in there. They work for Homeland Security at the training center, and they come in at least once, twice a week. Well, something went down 2 weeks ago where their phones went off. She couldn't find out exactly what was going on, but she said at the same time, both of their cell phones went off. I even have the camera footage. A four-door black Suburban picked them up and left. They left their cars there. They weren't seen for another 4 days. And they can't tell anybody what's going on.
That is weird. So they left their cars at her parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's freaky.
It was basically like a drop and go situation. You know, if you're like a cop, private investigator, you got to go right now. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Wow.
And that's what happened. But with the pox, I mean, that's 45 minutes from me, man. Baltimore and D.C. are 45 minutes from me. I live right in between two states. And it's crazy. I've even talked to people from California that moved here, this small town, which isn't so small anymore. And the big reason is because the drought, expenses, all that kind of stuff. They're just, I don't know, man. It's crazy. And I can't believe the housing boom around here. You think with everything going on that wouldn't be happening, but it's happening.
Well, people are getting out.
I'm prepping.
People are taking their stuff
ready.
out.
I'm being quiet. I'm not putting it out there. You know.
Well, especially where you are, you're real close to all of those, all of the bases. they're going to clear that area when stuff happens.
Yeah. That's why I finally wanted to call, because when I watched your short, man, and talking about it right now is sending chills down my arms. And I'm a God-fearing man, but this, man, like I said, I grew up in Southern Virginia, and when the weather changes, you better run. You better hide. You better be ready.
Well, I completely understand your sentiment.
So
this is big. I mean,
then I seen your situation with power. That's even crazier.
Well, I just think about the entire country. If it goes down, we're totally screwed. You know, there's not going to be anybody to fix it. This is big. What we kind of stumbled on, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Something? That's why my screen name is what it is. I realized I was 2 years younger than Dex. So, I mean, I hate to say it. I look at my daughter. I look at the generation behind her. And then I look at my generation, and it's like, man, they do not have a clue. None. Nope.
None. And I can only warn so many, tell so many. I mean, like you said, I think I heard it on one of your shows one time that now you thought the preppers were the crazy ones. No, they're not. And like I've messaged you a couple times, I'm not woke, I'm aware.
That Gen X dude, what it is, again, I think the only kid that I know, he's 15 now, is and it's not my daughter. She is part of this new generation. My 15-year-old autistic nephew is by far the most actual woke person I know. I mean, he knows about all of this, and it's not because of me. He's actually does his own research. He watches, and you know why he knows? Is because he is a history buff. He can tell you the model number on a WW1 weapon, but he can also tell you about war stories from the civil conflict. He can tell you from WW1, WW2. He's can tell you about all of the different countries in Europe. He's a savant. I wouldn't call him an idiot savant because he's not an idiot. He is a savant. He has a beautiful brain, and it works unlike others. I think that autism is a superpower, and he is way ahead in a lot of areas, and I believe he is smarter than me in a lot of ways. And I've seen something in some of the autistic people that I know. It's like they were given a gift. They were given this gift to see what is coming. They're like almost, they might be our last hope, because these kids now are so glued to their phones and to the plugs that they plug them into. Yeah, it's unbelievable. We're screwed.
For me, it's like a gut feeling. I can't explain it. I don't know how to put it into words. I was born in 1975. I've seen and lived through a lot of crap. So is Dex. But in the end, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have any of that crap. I had 4 channels. That's it. If any of this goes, I'm good. I'm good. Period. Yeah. Pick up a book, read, do something. I hate to be blunt like that, but that's me, man. I'm like they would say, I'm an old salt. I'm stuck in my ways.
Well, that Gen X dude, I would love for you, if there's any updates or if your wife hears other stuff, let us know and call us about that kind of, because I understand exactly what you're saying. If they have training facility, all that kind of stuff, when they go in and drink it, after a couple drinks, they might blurt out, "Oh, it's the end of the world." I've actually heard that from others.
I've been emailing you too.
Okay, well, again, why can you send me another one right after you get off the phone, and actually put that Gen X dude in the subject, so then I can see it and grab it right then.
Hey, one more thing. Did you Google the movie Melancholia?
Oh yeah, I've watched Melancholia. I think it's a freaky movie.
Oh my god, dude.
Let me.
Oh yeah, especially after Moonfall.
Which did Moonfall come out already? Does anybody know?
I don't think it did.
I am so waiting to see that. That movie is kind of, it's a, I guess, predictive programming of what I think, like something is going on. Something is happening.
When when you showed me that was the first movie that popped into my head, and I could not believe it. I was like, whoa.
Oh,
there's too many similarities. Like you say, 2 + 2 is 4. It ain't 31.
So if you haven't seen Melancholia, this movie that he's talking about, it's like kind of a independent film. It's a little, I don't know, artsy or something, but it's really
like a
freaky.
disaster noir, something like that.
Yeah, it's artsy in the way it does it, but a planet is coming and it's going to connect with Earth, and pretty much everybody is screwed.
Exactly. You know we're on the same level, man. That's why I love you, dude.
Yeah, this is Melancholia. It has Kirsten Dunst. It had a pretty well-known cast. It did not do as well as I think a lot of people thought it was going to do. It is very spooky. It's just it has this feeling from the very beginning. It creeped me out. It gave me the creeps.
Yeah, people don't like when honesty is thrown in your face. That we are just a tiny speck.
Yeah, no, we are definitely a piece of dust in a universe God made. Well, that Gen X dude, we've got one more.
I'm glad I got to talk to you, and I'm glad I got through.
Well, of course, man. Call again. It just because, again, don't be a stranger, okay? And
okay, yeah, I will talk to the wife and see if I can, send you some things.
Okay, well that would be great. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, that Gen X
Thank
dude.
You, Marf.
Have a wonderful night. That was that Gen X dude, and I actually can't see. I can't see anymore where. But the town he was talking about is right in between. It's crazy to be 45 minutes away from D.C., 45 minutes from here, 45 minutes from there. He's in a very crazy little spot there. I'm not as familiar with the East Coast as I am with the West Coast because I have only been to Florida as far as on that side. But I'm pretty familiar with that area. I remember that it was really hard learning the states in that area because there's so many little ones. There's Rhode Islands, there's New York's, there's the Maine and all of the Pennsylvania and all that. And if you're from the West Coast and don't know that little area, there's all those states packed in there. But I do have kind of a general area, and it's like he's got all of those main things right there. So he's surrounded by military, by agencies, their training facilities. I've heard about that DHS training facility, and they do some pretty crazy stuff there because DHS has this broad and wide range of things that they are in charge of. And then Winton Dupree says, people call me an idiot. They wonder if I'm a savant, but they know. And I mean that as far as autistic people, the many that I know, once you get to know them, they might some of them may seem socially awkward, but they are powerful people. I think that it would actually be. I kind of wish we could see like an autistic savant in politics. Somebody who really just says, "Let's do this, this, and this." Winton Dupree, thank you. Stephen Click says, I really like this guy a lot. He is very smart, intelligent, and speaks to things properly. Stephen Click, yes, that was a great caller. Simply Pony and Sue Lathram, thank you so much for your generous support there. $20 super chat. Super awesome. Thank you, Sue. I appreciate that. Franny Cascadia, Alaska Prepper recommends the Blue Eddy solar generator on sale at Costco. Franny, I have not seen Blue Eddy yet. I'll have to look up that. Winton Dupree, thank you, says, grew up in SoCal 32 years, thrived in Colorado 26 years, just moved to Florida. The best. Winton, I'll have to check that out. And Winton also says, I'm a child of the 60s. Today I'm a boomer. Just remember, this shit has been going on forever. So I do think that it has, but this is the end of the line of all of the BS propaganda, because the last 2 years and everything that's happened, this is on a time frame that, I believe even the theorists thought that this was going to take 10 years to get accomplished. They're accomplishing things in 2 years that people thought was going to take decades. So keep that in mind. This isn't just like, hiding under our desk and saying, oh, they're going to nuke us. This is different because now we are actually at the precipice of something big, and a catastrophic event is on its way, according to many. So kind of freaks me out. Russia deploys commandos to Belarus as migrant crisis, Ukraine tensions spark Western fears. Of course, the Western world has been fearing this kind of situation where something pops off over here because people are going to get involved. It says that migrants collect their belongings before leaving a camp on the Belarusian-Polish border in the Grodno region and heading towards the Polish-Kuznica border, crossing on November 15th, 2021. Western countries have accused the Belarusian regime, which is backed by Russia, of engineering the crisis in retaliation against EU sanctions, charges that Minsk has denied. It says Russia has orchestrated the deployment of special operations troops to the northern border of Belarus to see how sudden surges of migrants to the area are straining neighboring NATO countries' ability to respond. A source familiar with the government's assessments tells the U.S. News. Again, that is something that just popped up. It says it was not immediately clear whether the commandos came from Russia or from Belarus, says former U.S. Army Europe Commander Ben Hodges, who senior officials in Latvia believe the deployments are at least for reconnaissance, if not for some other nefarious distraction. So I have a feeling that in the next 2 days we'll probably see something pop off there, or some sort of small event that ends up being blown up. The worry, I guess, for me, and I know that I again, Dex, if you are free, you can pop in on this. I guess the worry for us, right, would be is if this is used for a Fantastic Freddy to start something greater than what we're talking about here.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's also about escalation, just in general conflict between, Russia and EU, right? And the push that they want against, either getting more of the pipeline in or getting the sanctions dropped or other things like that. This is their way of basically, picking on EU without doing it. They're using a proxy.
Yeah, it's like there's never a time where the world isn't in a severe proxy event. It's never ending. And then we have, here's what you should know about the escalating crisis along Belarus border. New clashes come as Poland, Latvia, and Lithuania have been considering invoking NATO's Article 4 to ask the alliance to take new action. So Article 4, we've talked about this in the last 3 years. Kind of it would be a big deal to use. It says a crisis involving groups of people traveling from the Middle East who are now trapped along the western borders of Belarus have been going on for months now and only continues to heat up. Here's what this confusing situation is all about and its current state of play. Just today, Poland's Ministry of Defense accused Belarusian security forces of fomenting a new round of violence by these individuals who threw rocks and other objects at Polish personnel, causing non-life-threatening injuries to at least one Polish soldier. The governments of Poland, as well as Latvia and Lithuania, all of which are NATO members, have called an alliance to do more, while the European Union has imposed new sanctions on Belarus in response to what it described as a hybrid attack. Now, think about this. Say that somebody there dresses up as a Polish soldier or dresses up and says that they're Polish, or they have a group of Polish people react to these migrants and do some sort of horrific act. That would be an absolute repeat of what happened in WW2, which they called a Fantastic Freddy, in other words, a false. And in that event where Germany took their German soldiers, they dressed up as Polish soldiers, and they went with a boom boom, a handheld boom boom, threw it into a school, and boom boomed a bunch of kids. And of course, Germany, the German people, which were being tricked by their leaders, they were blood red in the eyes and saying, let's go. They supported this conflict 100% wholeheartedly, or that's at least what I've read, right? So, and understandably, they thought that these Polish soldiers did that to their kids. There was other events that happened that would be considered FFs as far as in the WW2 region. Pretty crazy stuff there. So I think there's been a lot of events like that where they, act as if there's somebody else to do something like that. Dex?
And real quick, Adam, Article 4 in this scenario is sort of a lesser action than Article 5. So Article 4 just asks all the collective people of NATO to come together for a consultation, right? And it brings them together and asks them to consult on the problem. And what typically happens in that scenario is they may ship weapons or, do other things that may need necessary. Article 5 would be the next step, which is where they actually invoke calling the rest of NATO in with troops to help them.
But you can't.
This is the first step before.
But I believe
5.
You can't do Article 5 without doing Article 4. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I don't know if there's a rule on it, but it makes sense because the first one's the consultation.
Yeah.
And typically, I think the example was in Turkey. We ended up sending, surface to air systems into Turkey just after Article 4. It's like they asked, what should we be doing? Yeah. And then all of a sudden everybody says, here, take all this gear. This will help you.
Yep. So Article, if we're not even to Article 4 yet, so that we're not there, but that's what it looks like it's going to do. Crop Duster, Hobinson, Bear Claws, thank you everybody that's dropping ice creams and lemons over on DLive. Thank you guys for supporting, and DLive, to the whole DLive crew. I really appreciate each and every one of you that have continued to be there. Chance Paladin, of course, all of the mods over there. Gem. It looks like, again, wherever you're at. Nisi, thank you. Truth Wins, of course, Up Chief, Captain Pat, Chewy Weather, and everybody else that's popping in and popping out. Karen from Columbus, Lisa K. It's nice to see you. Lisa K23, always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for your support. Can't say enough. It looks like, in fact, there's a couple people there. Life is better on stilts. Thank you all for being you. Just wanted to, let's pop over here. Let's pause this real quick. Thank you, Scooby-Doo Do-Right. Scooby-Doo Do-Right is currently the leader over on DLive. Thank you, Scooby-Doo Do-Right, for being the leader. Number 2 is Zippy Moons. And then number 3 is L Luna 3377. I appreciate you guys. At the end, we'll touch on that again. It looks like Life is Better on Stilts is number 4 currently in End Times. Thank you for supporting Sammy Lee in 6. Truth Wins 7, Divine 1122, Pearl, and then Lisa K23. Thank you, everybody over there. Thanks for supporting us. You are our backbone. We really, again, when we cover this stuff, we're getting nicked and hit every time. So thank you, and thank you. I appreciate you. Before we move on, I do want to remind you, if you do want to get anything like a solar generator or any sort of different, setup here, we have a solution for you. So if you do end up going over to My Patriot Supply, it ends up giving us a commission of anything you may get. That way, again, when we send you over there, they're basically helping us out for sending a new person to their business. And then you guys are actually getting a discount on a lot of different things. In fact, they have $100 off on a 3-month supply of food there, which is long-term survival food. You guys already know why we have told you to stock up, and we have archived actual documentation of why we think you should do this. So I don't think I have to tell you why. It's about, when will you end up actually getting prepared and stock up on this stuff. If you aren't, you can always take your chances. Now, if you want to look into power situations or power and lighting, make sure to go check first if you can, see if they have an option over at My Patriot Supply. Go over to marfugglenews.com/prep. I believe there was a couple people that ended up going over and grabbing, I want to say like a 3-month supply of food, and they got a couple of emergency radios. I just want to thank you. The thing is, for the people that do end up doing this, it's not many. We really appreciate your help and your support. It's a big deal. Again, it's myself and Dex, but I would love to expand this. And it's just everything is stacked against us. We're on an uphill. As far as water filtration is really important. If you don't end up going through these guys, go through somebody, get yourself water filtration, period. That's why they say 90% of us would perish if the power goes out, is because we don't have water. That's stupid. We should all have water filtration systems, period. You should have it. You shouldn't even be using your tap water anyways. So remember, you don't have to be in an emergency situation to stock up on stuff like this. If something happens like what happened here, it's like 2 days without power for a little tiny, like, knock over your plastic chair in the backyard kind of wind, that you lose power for 2 days because nobody's there to fix it. God forbid we have another storm like what Texas had. Imagine the Texas storm that happened last year or the year before with nobody to fix it. That would have been a month-long thing. I really do think that. So thank you, marfooglenews.com/prep. Make sure to go check it. It has all sorts of things from battery banks, all the gadgets you can imagine. It's a one-stop shop for prep. All right. Dex, before we talk about intelligence, officials warn China could launch surprise attack on U.S. Let's get that third caller in. It looks like we have Warren. And Warren is from Redmond, Oregon, and wants to talk about the America Under Siege story from 1994. Let's get Warren on.
And Adam, I'm trying to get Warren on the line.
No worries. We'll just wait quietly. Okay, so
hey Adam, let me get him back and see.
That's all right.
It looks like he's having trouble. So
we'll go over this. We'll
bring him back in.
This is pretty important. I just like how I say we'll just sit quietly, and then I believe my 6-year-old goes, bah! Yeah. Yeah. We're not in a huge studio. We are underneath hyper children. Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General John Hyten, has warned that China could launch a surprise attack on the U.S. with their hypersonic space weapons. This should be already known. They launched the FOBs, the orbital bombardment system.
Fractional orbital bombardment system.
I don't know why I blanked on that. The fractional orbital bombardment system. And this system basically hit its target before the U.S. even knew about it. What it is it's a kind of a system where it drops it into space in the upper atmosphere. It has a glider that goes around, and it comes up from the opposite direction. Not only that, it glides to its position. It goes into a place where it's basically virtually invisible to different radars, and then it hit its target off by a couple miles, and it ended up hitting, and we didn't know until after it hit. If that was an EMP and it was on target, even if it was a little bit off target, it could have knocked out almost our entire grid, and we wouldn't have known until afterwards. It says Hyten noted that China's hypersonic weapons test sent a missile around the world at more than 5 times the speed of sound. It says, quote, they launched a long-range missile. It went around the world, dropped off a hypersonic glide vehicle that glided all the way back to China. That impacted a target in China. He added that it's also got close enough to hitting its intended target. So this is a big deal that they did this, and he said, but noted that the Sputnik created a sense of urgency in the United States, which is the test on June 27th, did not. China's technology is now catching U.S. officials off guard as the system defies the laws of physics and boasts superiority to the American arsenal. China has reportedly been working on hypersonic weapons which travel in a predictable arc and can be tracked by radars. It says, Hyten said because hypersonic weapons are much harder for radars to pick up, they could be used to launch a surprise nuclear attack on the U.S. They look like a first-use weapon. Essentially, they would use it first and hit them, and we wouldn't even know by the time we were down. The whole thing is for the longest time we were safe because of mutually assured destruction. But if you destroy your enemy before they can even react, which is literally what could have possibly happened, that's not good. It says that's what those weapons look like to me. And remember, this is the person saying this. That's what makes it incredibly important. It says earlier this month, the Pentagon warned China is stockpiling its nuclear weapons at an accelerating pace that is much faster than the U.S. officials predicted just a year ago. That's why I say I don't think that you can really put a finger on it, because I think they're going all out. I think they are literally trying their hardest to basically get ready to go to conflict. I mean, it's simple. They told their people, they told their entire country, we are responsible for the last 2 years. They told their country that we are cutting out any kind of feminine stuff. We're basically going to toughen you up. No more Western culture. We are cutting English out of our country. They are cutting businesses out. They're cutting English-speaking schools. They're cutting any communications with their kids and here through their gaming. No more social media. No more idolizing Western idols. This is all stuff that has happened in just the last month, or at least since August 29th of this year. They ended up telling them that we were responsible for the last 2 years. And all of a sudden, this shipping crisis where there's nothing leaving China as far as these big, huge loads, most of them of which were actually going to, directly to the actual country. A lot of this seems almost staged because people just don't get why this is all happening. And I think that there's some sort of greater thing happening here. And it may very well be that they already have people on the inside. I don't know. And they're helping themselves to destroy, then come in. Neon Nettle reported on rapid advance of the Chinese party's nukes, highlights broad and accelerating buildup of military muscle designed to enable China. Now, do you have Warren on the phone, Dex?
Oh, yeah, I've got him back. We can try and get him on.
Okay, let's get Warren on, and then what do you think about this? Tell me in the comments down below. Matt B, thank you, says, please watch the video Dark Winter on YouTube. It's on the channel Center for Health Security. It was made in the early 2000s, but re-uploaded a month ago. I will definitely check that out, Matt B. Joseph Newhouse, hey, I made a new video, kinda a follow-up to the Polka and Asteroid stuff. Thank you for doing the show. And then Marfoogle Gold, thank you for being here for a long time, and thank you for continuing to support. All right, let's go over to Warren.
Adam, maybe 3 times the charm. Let's try one more story, and I'll see if I can get him on again.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said maybe 3 times the charm will be it, because I can't get him on. We'll try one more time if you want to keep going to the next.
That's all right. China violates Taiwan's airspace amid Xi Biden video call. Now, when they were said to do this, look at this. Are they trying to be like twins or something? That's just creepy. Look at that. What, you're waving? That's a computer screen, buddy. That's not a real person. Monday's event was much smaller than the enormous Chinese military flights that raised tensions in the region last month. And according to Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense, or the MND, this time it was the 2 of the Chinese Shenyang J-11 fighters, 2 Chengdu J-10 fighters, and of course 1 Shangzi Y-8 electronic intelligence turboprop, and 1 Shangzi Y-8 configured for electronic warfare. Electronic warfare is what we've been focused on for a couple years now, because this is what is going to happen. This is what they are practicing for. This is what they are drilling for. It says the 6 Chinese warplanes entered the southwestern corner of Taiwan's ADIZ and were met by Taiwanese aircraft and radio warnings. The MND said its air defense missile systems were also activated and tasked with tracking the Chinese planes. The southwestern part of Taiwan's ADIZ is a popular spot for Chinese mischief because it includes several strategic locations that would become important for holding Allied forces at bay during a Chinese invasion. Submarines would play an important role in controlling the area. And China's incursions over the past year have frequently included anti-submarine aircraft. Taiwan News noted that there has been a Chinese incursion into the ADIZ every day in November, except for November 3rd, a significant increase in tempo for China's gray zone tactics, which boil down to constantly pestering the Taiwanese with obnoxious behavior and wearing out the much smaller Taiwanese Air Force by obliging them to respond. It says the Chinese People's Liberation Army, or the PLA, also began night bombing drills off the island of Hainan in the South China Sea, sending dozens of J-6 heavy boomers to practice combat runs against ships and ground forces. It says J-6 boomers would be sent into the battle carrying the ship killer missiles China developed to counter America's dominant aircraft carriers. Now, I also want to remember, in the Chinese desert, in their version, they have actual U.S. mock aircraft carriers and ships that they've been drilling on. They have mock Taiwanese capitals. They have mock... here's the newest rumor that I believe... I believe it's realistic, or it could happen. I have heard that they have a mock U.S. capital. Now, that would make headlines. If we do hear about that, you know, you would probably see that as propaganda, right? But we haven't heard about that yet. That is only a rumor. But they do have a building that is directly copying the Taiwanese capital. So I wonder what they are actually doing over there and what is happening. So as far as this Xi call, it says the local report in question, published by the Chinese language news outlet in Taiwan called Liberty Times, claimed that 2 annual bilateral defense meetings would be combined into a single event. The participants would include the U.S. and Taiwanese assistant secretaries and deputy defense ministers. Among other topics, they would discuss potential future arms sales to Taiwan, and this would make the summit high level but not top level. And its timing so soon after the Xi-Biden call would probably annoy but not infuriate Beijing. Mofa would say that Taiwan values its close relations and open bilateral communication with the United States, and the two governments regularly hold discussions in issues of common interest. So, of course, we're on the heels of all of this, and it's like, you know, what is actually happening? Last but not least, OSHA has suspended activities related to Mr. B's V date, right? It says the Occupational Safety and Health Administration has suspended work on the President B's V after a federal appeals court hit pause on rules that would force companies with 100 more employees to require this or regular testing. OSHA pointed to the stay from the U.S. Courts of Appeals from the Fifth Circuit, but said that the court fight over the regulation known as Emergency Temporary Standard isn't over. The court ordered that OSHA take no steps to implement or enforce the ETS until further court order.
So,
go.
Yeah, so that's a sort of a short-term win for some people in certain areas, but that doesn't necessarily affect the earlier story we talked about with travel, right? Because there's a federal mandate that's out for federal employees, and I believe it was November 22nd, which is coming up in a few days, right? So that's the one that's going to hit, federal employees like a TSAs as an example. And, that's going to coincide with this bad weather, coincide with the busiest travel season of the entire year.
What are they? Thanksgiving is going to be hell. It's literally going to be hell.
Exactly. But for those who have, who just work at companies larger than 100 employees, should your employer wish to, sit back on this, apparently they can sit back and wait for, this court decision to see which way it's going to go. Allegedly, that's what I'm taking from this.
Well, it's absolutely incredible what is happening right now in front of our eyes. It is obviously just insane. All right, so let's see.
On Warren's subject, he just gave me the information, so I'm just going to share it with everybody. Apparently he's having phone problems. We couldn't get it figured out. But there was a video, Adam, and he is old school, kind of like me in the sense of technology. He used to work with BBS systems and other things, and he used to talk with a lot of folks back in the day before the internet about the same topics we talk about today. And this one person, Linda Thompson, who we're going to put the link to the video on our website so people can watch it. It's a video from 94, but what's interesting about this, or at least the copyright in the beginning of it was 94. What's interesting about this is that there are a lot of the things from camps to train rail cars that we've talked about, all of these different types of events that we've talked about in modern, or I would say modern times, like 94 is the old the old ages, but you know what I mean. In current days, we've talked like a lot of these different events, whether it's, you know, sicknesses or camps or other things. A lot of that stuff was also talked about and done or attempted to be done back in the 90s and 80s. And there's a lot of documentation on it pre-internet. So it was a really interesting video. He said he just wanted to make sure people could go watch it. So that's what we've got. I think it's, you know, we'll have it on the website. Anybody can go take a look and watch Linda Thompson. I think she had many other videos. They're probably out on YouTube. You can find them. And she had passed away in 2010. So that was what he had. And he wished everybody well.
Well, thank you, Warren, for calling in and giving us that. And just want to say I'm praying for Mike Morales. Apparently he coughed up blood yesterday or the day before, went to the doctor, and they said that he had cancer around his heart. That is incredibly sad news, and cancer is so scary. Any one of us could be next. I mean, that's the real thing that it says. Mike Morales has malignant neoplasma of his lungs. Oh, I am praying for him. That is not a good diagnosis, but people need to surround him with positivity. Somebody else said trolls bounce. Let the trolls, when the chat's going so fast, just try to ignore them or say, hey, how's your day going? When there is, so-called trolls, some of those trolls end up turning into watchers. If they're here every day to troll, they end up either liking the show, or if they hate it, they can yell at the radio. My grandpa listened to Rush Limbaugh every day, and he would yell at the radio. He hated Rush Limbaugh, but he would listen every day. He would call in and argue with him. If you go back to Rush Limbaugh's old call-in show, he used to call in all the time. My grandpa is on, 30 shows. I don't know how many. But if somebody doesn't like if they think something, eventually they're absorbing good information. I mean, they're literally absorbing this stuff. And when they hit the dislike button, which there's like 100 every show, they help our engagement. I encourage the dislike button because it helps it helps it. If you're not going to press that like button, at least press the dislike button because that helps us reach new people. YouTube just sees it as engagement. They don't care. They want an argument. They want drama. So they want comments. They want all of that. So if you can comment, and then again, I want to remind you. I was going to remind you to do something here. Oh, share. If you guys have done a love mob before, I know that you guys are pretty loyal and awesome when we ask you to love mob. If you can, please do a share mob for that video today on news. Get that to as many people as possible. For those of you that are still on Facebook, share it like crazy. Share it everywhere. That is a really important one. And watch, we're going to give you updates on that. We never ask you to really share and to pump stuff out. Pump that video out because I think it is going to be incredibly important. And then let's see here. I do want to say thank you to a few people here. Claire L., thank you for going over to PayPal. I believe that one was during the show. Thank you. Sammy Lee, looks like either today or last night. God bless you, Adam and Dex. You keep the fire lit up under our butts. So thank you so much, love. And then Bayberry's Antique Dolls, thank you. Christology, Peter S., and Lisa K23. Thank you. Said, sorry you are without power. That was the other day. So thank you, and thank you. Everybody that has gone over to PayPal to support us. Cannot say thank you enough. Every day we try to recognize those people that go above and beyond. So thank you. Dex, we have, of course, the web-only content. Probably have to cut it short, though.
Well, yeah. So let's just keep it simple. Every night we do additional content. Just go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, and scroll down till you see web-only content. You'll find everything else that you may have been missing or we couldn't cover in the show. If you're on YouTube, open that description. It's the first link right there. It'll take you directly to it. It's worth going to every day. If you missed a day, look at the last day. marfooglenews.com. We put all of this extra content on there. It's called web-only content. Some of it's too hot for TV. Definitely go check it out. marfooglenews.com.
And then people getting jailed, all sorts of stuff happening. Every update on everything. Make sure to go over and check it out. Thank you, everybody that ended up supporting tonight. Just to make sure that I didn't miss anybody. Let's see here. Thank you. Scooby-Doo right. Zippy Moons. It looks like somebody just popped in. Let's see here. That was Scooby-Doo right. Ended up being number 1 over on D-Live. Thank you. Zippy Moons number 2. El Luna 3377. Life is Better on Stilts. Lisa K23. End Time. Sammy Lee. Divine 1122. Truth Wins. And to everyone else, if I missed you, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And everybody that's over there, whether you love us or hate us, thank you for joining us. Over 4,000 ended up in the chat. So thank you. Dex, thank you for your service. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, and then it is now time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It is a shoutro. It's where I say thank you to the people who matter most, you. Thank you, Sue Latham. I appreciate you. Thank you for your above and beyond support tonight. Sue Latham. Sue Latham. Everybody go. Better ask them. Sue Latham. Oh, oh, oh. Better ask them. Sue Latham. Oh, oh, oh. Better ask them. Sue Latham. Oh, oh, oh. Better ask them.
feel grateful. Everybody do this.
World war on the horizon, and we know. World war on the horizon, and we know. World war on the horizon, and we know.
Jack on the beat, that funny verse, one. Love Andrew and almost done. Who you man with the Abrams son? Everybody done, everybody done. We do what's up, name 45. Karen and Green Hill, everybody's high. Everybody with the Robin Spiker. Do it back round and the right dad a biker. The Portro wannabe and the deep state minder. Everybody gonna find ya.
World war on the horizon, and we know.
If you are a racist tree, you will be found. We will find you with our satellites. You racist trees.